Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Nick Tan Chats, my magic and mostly mentalism review show. My name is Nick Tan, and on today's episode, I'll be chatting with you guys about One to Match, released by Ascher and Taha Mansour. So hi again guys, welcome back to the channel, and as always, thanks for showing up, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for spending some time with me today. So just before today's episode, just a quick reminder to all of you guys out there, the Harper Crown giveaway, alright, the book giveaway is still ongoing. You guys have until the 15th, alright, of January, alright, which is, I don't know, another week or so, to get your entries in. Okay, so if you've not checked out that giveaway, I'm actually giving away a set of books, Harper Crown, as well as Harper Crown 2. So do check out the previous episode of Nick Tan Chats for details on that giveaway. But let's get down to today's episode. So on today's episode, I'll be chatting with you guys about an effect, okay, a routine called One to Match. So what is One to Match? Well, One to Match is kind of like a thought of card effect. What happens is you have a spectator, alright, and you tell them that instead of you reading their mind, you now would like to try an experiment where they read your mind. So you have a deck of cards in play, and it's going to be a bit difficult to kind of describe this, without tipping a crucial part of the method, okay? But let's just say that using the deck of playing cards, you will commit to one playing card. Okay, I think it's fair to say that. And then once you've committed to that playing card, you then take the spectator through a verbal kind of a procedure, at the end of which they will end up on one playing card, and then you show them at the end that they managed to work out the exact card that you are thinking of. So that's it, right? That is the effect. It's a kind of thought of card effect, the perfect version of this kind of a thing would be, you remove a playing card from a deck of cards, place it face down on the table, have the spectator name any card in the deck, they name the three of hearts, you turn the card over, and it is the three of hearts, right? So that would be the ultimate version of this kind of an effect. And the very first time I was exposed to this sort of thing was, and I think many of you would be as well, right, was like, I don't know, in the late 90s, early 2000s, when Darren Brown started, releasing material like, think of the suit, all right, the numbers in the corner, the pum 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 down the... So ever since then, I was, using this sort of thing for a little bit, but just for fun, right? In casual kind of performances. I don't think I've ever used it in like a professional engagement, right? Because you do know that these sorts of things don't really work like 100% of the time. But yeah, right, One to Match is kind of like that, okay, where you kind of commit to one playing card and then you have a spectator work out what that card is. What do you get when you purchase One to Match? Well, you get about an hour's tutorial, all right? The video runs for about an hour. On the tutorial itself, there will be live performances, all right, full performances of the effect. I think there are like three performances that you can have a look at. And then Ori and Taha will take you through the whole method itself. All right, now it is shot in a kind of virtual, kind of a lecture, kind of a setting. All right, so it kind of goes in between Ori and Taha, and they will both kind of take turns to take you through the whole method. At the end of the video as well, there'll be a small section, a bonus section where Taha will take you through the original routine that inspired One to Match. So if you're watching this particular review, right, and if you've read about this effect, well, you'll be interested in the kind of process, right? What is the process that is, used, right? That you take the spectator through in order to get to the playing card. Now, unfortunately, of course, with this sort of effect, right, it will be quite difficult and almost impossible for me to chat about exactly what happens, all right? Because that is the method itself, okay? So I can't really describe exactly what happens, but I can kind of tell you various parts, all right, the whole procedure in which you use to get the spectator to work out that playing card. So as I mentioned, using a deck of cards itself, all right, and the method does require you to have a deck of cards in play. Okay, it's hard to say more than that, but you do need to have a deck of cards in play, and using the deck of cards, you will kind of commit to one card that you tell the spectator, this is the card that is on your mind, and they are going to try and work out. So first of all, you will take them through a procedure to kind of work out the suit of the playing card. Okay, now this one is interesting. This portion of the effect I found quite interesting because, well, I haven't seen it done this way before. Alright, so it's quite interesting, you know, and I've tried performing one-to match for about 5 or 6 times, and it hasn't failed yet. Initially, when I saw it, I was thinking to myself that really, is that gonna work? You know, but I don't know. So far, it hasn't failed me. Okay, so I found it quite interesting because the spectator themselves will kind of, how do I say this, form the suit themselves and thus kind of choose that particular suit. Okay, so once the spectator has decided on a suit, all right, for the playing card, then comes the procedure to get a value, all right, a value so that you can kind of attach it to the suit, right, to form a full playing card. So this procedure to choose the value of the playing card, I have seen before in other forms, all right. In fact, I do use a version of this in a routine that I do, a card at any number routine that I do. Alright, so I have seen this kind of thing before, but I think the way Ori and Taha have kind of scripted it and worded it makes it quite clear to the spectator, alright, and it's also quite dependable, I think. So that's it, right? It's a really quick procedure. They form a suit, they choose a value, and then at the end, you know, you show them that they've gotten the card correct. So I'd like to now bring up a couple of points for you guys to consider, all right, if you want to, whether, you know, to pick up one-to match or not, okay? So the whole process, all right, as I mentioned earlier, is done propless, right? It's a verbal kind of a procedure, all right, non-prop procedure, okay? But it's not like entirely like propless, right? Because you do need a deck of playing cards that are in play, all right, in order to make your prediction. Next, the method is quite script heavy. Okay, script and procedure heavy, all right? Now, the procedure itself is not long drawn, but you do need to kind of memorize exactly what to do from the start to the finish, right? You can't really like miss out anything in order for the effect to play out really smoothly. Also, the scripting that you need to kind of learn is really important as well. I think that it really forms the bulk of the method, I think. So, and you don't have to learn exactly like word for word what, you know, Ori and Taha says, right? In fact, they do mention that, right? Not to say exactly what they say, but kind of use the concepts, all right? Once you understand what is going on, use your own words, your own language to say what you need to say in order for the routine to work. I got lost there for a bit. So yeah, it's script and procedure dependent, okay? So you do need to memorize everything and say the right things at the right time. Next, I will tell you that this particular routine requires acting chops, okay? So you do need to have a decent, you know, acting ability, I suppose, in order to pull off this effect, I think, you know, because even from right at the start, you know, right at the beginning of the routine, the acting chops will come in already, okay? So you do need that, all right, in order to, you know, kind of make it deceptive or kind of accepted, all right, that certain things will be happening through the routine. The only other thing I can tell you is that you do need to have the right spectator for this particular effect, okay? You do need to choose someone who is cooperative, you know, and willing to kind of help you make this a success, okay? If you choose someone who is, you know, really skeptical, you know, and slightly, you know, challenging, and it turns into a kind of antagonistic kind of a, you know, interaction, then this will totally not work. All right, so you do have to choose the right spectator and set it up properly so that they understand that this is not about, you know, you reading their mind, and it's not about like challenging or anything like that. It really is about getting them to, you know, work out this thing, all right? So you're kind of like helping them to get this to be a success. Well, in actual fact, they are helping you, but you know what I mean. So my initial thoughts on this product was that I learned it and I thought it was really interesting, all right, because there are many little layers, different methods in between the whole method itself, okay? So I found it a really interesting process to learn it, Okay, and in fact, there was one thing towards the end, just before you reveal the playing card, that I think I will definitely be applying to other things that I do already in my own work. Okay, so even if you don't perform this whole routine in its entirety, I think there are parts that you can kind of extract, you know, and use in other ways, all right, which I found, you know, I found that to be really helpful and interesting. However, my initial thoughts on the routine, as interesting as I found it to be, was that I wasn't sure how much of a difference it would make to a spectator, you know, in terms of like the strength of the effect. All right, the method is great, the method is really clever, but I wasn't sure about, you know, how strongly it would play as compared to other things that I was like doing, you know, already doing, right? Similar kinds of effects. So to be fair, right, I gave this a try. You know, I tried it out for like either five or 6 times in the past week, right, just for friends and, you know, people that I meet. And you know, it worked out, right? Every single time it worked out. Reactions were good, all right? They were surprised that, you know, they got the card correct, but still it wasn't enough for me to kind of, you know, judge whether this plays better than other kinds of routines that I was doing. So just to give you some perspective on the effect that I'm comparing it to, right, in my own repertoire. Okay, so there's this effect that I do where I hand a deck of cards to a spectator, they shuffle it, you know, everything is done hands off, they remove one playing card face down and they place it sight unseen into the card box. All right, again, this is all done hands off. At this point, I take them through a verbal procedure, okay, and they kind of end up on one particular playing card. So let's just say they end up on the 3 of hearts. They remove the card from the box, they open the box, take it out, and they see that it is the 3 of hearts. So this is a routine that I've been doing for many years, and it's always played really strongly, all right? So this is the routine that I was comparing to one-to match. Now granted, they are different effects, right? They are different effects, right? However, I think the feel of it, you know, where you know, it's a verbal kind of a procedure and then you end up on one playing card, that element of it is similar, all right, which was why I compared it to this routine that I already do. And, you know, again, I'm still unsure about, you know, whether one is stronger than the other or not. Oh yes, so at the end of the routine, right, in one to match, there is one little potential problem, I think, that could go wrong. So I've asked Ori about it, and he mentioned to me that, you know, it never happens, all right, and it will always work out. And I do believe him, you know. So far in testing out the routine, that scenario has come up, but then it worked out in the end, okay? So it hasn't been a situation where I couldn't get out of it, okay? And the method does really just push the spectator a certain way. But my only concern is that if, all right, if the spectator doesn't budge at that point, then I don't really have any way to go except to have the card like slightly off. So yeah, you know, that's all I have to say about one to match, you know. Again, if you are interested in these sorts of effects and methods where there's a kind of verbal kind of a procedure, all right, to have a spectator, you know, end on a one playing card, I think you will enjoy going through this, all right, because as I said, even if, you know, you don't use the whole routine in its entirety, there are elements, all right, there are little bits of methods here and there that you can use for other things as well in your own work. I'd like to thank Ori Ascher, all right, for very kindly reaching out to me, really generously sharing this one to match with me so that I can chat about it with you guys on this show. If you'd like to pick up one to match for yourselves, I will leave the link in the description box down below. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. Till the next episode of Nique Chats, do stay safe, take care of yourselves, have fun with your magic and your mentalism, and I will see you on a future episode of Nique Chats.